Hello, friends. Welcome into Broncos Breakdown. I am Tom Downey here with a look at the quarterback battle, the number one thing right now around the Denver Broncos. Will it be Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater? After the first 2 days of camp, we are absolutely no closer to figuring that one out. Both Lock and Bridgewater are battling for that starting job, and yet neither appears to have really taken a lead yet. That's based on Vic Fangio, the team's head coach, and also, of course, the media attending training camp right now for Denver. On one end, you've got the incumbent starter, Drew Lock, who I think the team wants to be the guy. On the other, Teddy Bridgewater, who maybe offers more of a higher floor, a safer option, with not as much upside, I don't think, at this point in their NFL careers, than Drew Lock. Now, here's what head coach Vic Fangio had to say on the quarterback battle. Quote, "They've been pretty consistent, both of them. I see no separation if that's what you're asking," which, okay. Sure, I do believe that there's no separation. There have been some media reports, though, and you got the videos out there, too, of maybe consistent hasn't been the best way to describe what the Broncos have been doing so far at the quarterback position. Again, you got the lower ceiling, higher floor guy in Bridgewater, higher upside, lower floor guy in Drew Lock. So as it relates to week one, because I wouldn't be surprised if both guys got a chance to start games. Who starts in week one this year? Type L for Drew Lock or type in B for Teddy Bridgewater. Make your predictions for me right now in the comments section. Look, Bridgewater, who has been maligned for being a bit too much of a check-down guy, which I think is fair in some capacity, hasn't been the most steady, consistent player in terms of high upside play. The floor has been there. He doesn't make that many mistakes. His QBR is better than I think the touchdown-interception ratio might suggest. But if you're looking for a quarterback to game manage his way to maybe around 500, I think that's what Bridgewater would bring Denver, with a pretty decent supporting cast around them in terms of the playmakers in the offensive line. Drew Lock, meanwhile, given where he was drafted, given that he hasn't played nearly as much time, or spent as much time in the NFL as Teddy Bridgewater, in theory offers more upside. He offers more big plays, more arm strength, and is far more willing than Bridgewater has ever been to push it downfield. In fact, I would argue Bridgewater pushes it downfield not enough, and Drew Lock pushes it downfield a little bit too much. He was very willing to take shots deep downfield on a consistent basis, but wasn't the most productive in that capacity. So for Denver, you've got two very different type of quarterbacks. The big arm gunslinger in Drew Lock, who, unfortunately, from the regular stats and the advanced metrics, which are based on, watching the film, hasn't been a very good quarterback. But maybe this is the year Lock breaks out and takes a big-time step forward and makes Broncos fans go, Aaron Rodgers who? Bridgewater, I think, is more of the insurance policy. The quarterback position is the one that worries me for Denver. I like a lot of their surrounding core pieces, frankly, on both sides of the ball. So what is your confidence level in the Denver Broncos quarterbacks? This question is the pinned comment on today's video. So if you get the ad break here on YouTube, scroll on down and get your votes in. Let's talk trades now around Melvin Gordon. Now, Bleacher Report went through and pitched one trade for each NFL team. And their idea was, why don't the Broncos take Melvin Gordon and ship him over to the LA Rams? And there is some rationale behind this idea. Gordon's been mentioned in some trade, I'd argue speculation, more so than actual reports. So I get it from that perspective. Look, a trade saves $6.94 million. But Denver is trying to compete right now because Vic Fangio does not want to get fired. And Gordon is still the RB1. We'll get to Javonte Williams later on. Gordon last year in a timeshare with Philip Lindsay, which Gordon recently said kind of messed with him a little bit, but now it's right back where he started. 215 carries, almost got to that 1,000-yard mark, was 14 shy. A very solid 4.6 yards per carry, and also had 9 touchdowns. I like what Melvin Gordon's able to do as a pretty steady workhorse back who maybe won't bring a massive amount of big plays. Is he Derrick Henry? Is he Alvin Kamara? God, no. But he's a starting caliber back. And the money saved, though, makes it intriguing. If the Broncos want to give the reins over to other players, Javonte Williams is the future at the position. Royce Freeman, more on him in a second, feels like the outside man here. There's also Mike Boone, who they paid enough money to come over and at least have a role on this roster. It is fair to say Denver might not want to carry Gordon, Williams, Freeman, and Boone. And if that's the case, if they do want to trade somebody, the Rams make all the sense in the world. Cam Akers out for the year, blew out his Achilles, horrible break for the talented young back. Darrell Henderson can absolutely be RB1 for this team. It's the depth on this Rams roster that goes, this is not good. You've got amongst legendary players, Xavier Jones, Raymond Calais, Jake Funk, Otis Anderson. There is a bunch of late-round picks and UDFAs on that roster. So if the Rams have interest, sure, maybe you could trade Melvin Gordon away. I don't know necessarily if the contract is really what the Rams are looking for in that perspective. It's probably a little bit too much. But let's say you're the GM. What do you want to do with Melvin Gordon? Type in K for keep, or you can type in T for trade. Get your votes in for me right now in the comments section. Now, the other idea I would suggest the Broncos consider, I think Gordon's too expensive for LA. Royce Freeman, however, might not be. Maybe you could get a late, mid-ish day 3 pick back for Royce Freeman, much more affordable for the Rams from a contract perspective, and I think would instantly be RB2 on that roster. So I don't think Melvin Gordon's the guy that Denver should look into trading. I would argue Royce Freeman might be a better fit for the organization. Now, we'll see trades go down closer to roster cut-down time. And if you want videos around that time and all season long, hit that big red button. Broncos videos all year long right here on our Broncos YouTube channel. If you're not already subscribed, get that change. Hit the big red button today. Let's talk Lloyd Cushenbery now, the offensive line on today's very heavy offensive rumors roundup for the Broncos. The hype around Lloyd Cushenbery, a potentially good sign for the Denver Broncos. He was not good as a first-year player, but has drawn praise from media in training camp so far, and this is a big deal for the organization because the Broncos need Cushenbery to be a very critical part of the offensive line at the pivot point, if you will. Now, last year, again, all these stats per Pro Football Focus, and I think even though it is at some level bit of an opinion, it's pretty accurate. As a 1,000-plus snap player, Lloyd Cushenbery was not very good. His passing grade was poor. His run grade was even worse. But that was a first-time player. It was concerning, but I think the Broncos are going to try to give him another chance this year. And, of course, he was in a rough spot with really no minicamp, no OTAs, no camp because of, the weird COVID offseason. So what do you guys think? Do you trust Lloyd Cushenbery to start, let's just say, all 16 games here? Let me know what you think. Why for yes, you do, and for no, you do not. How do you feel about Lloyd Cushenbery being a key part of the Broncos offensive line? Now, in the event that he's not able to go, Quinn Meinerz is certainly the name to keep an eye out here for. The offensive lineman taken in the 3rd round out of Wisconsin Whitewater. And he's got some guard and center flexibility, which gives the Broncos some options in terms of, hey, maybe Cushenbery is slow to start, doesn't play well, whatever. They've got the potentiality to explore the center position with Meinerz. And you could even see Meinerz play some guard, but I think to start, there's a Cushenbery's our guy. We'll see how Meinerz ends up faring. And then, maybe even one of them could kick over to guard if needed at some point down the road. But I think the center position, if Cushenbery emerges, would be a big boost to the offensive line. I'm a big Dalton Reisner fan. Garrett Bowles got paid and had a great year last season. Graham Glasgow also got some center ability if needed. Is a pretty decent player. Natani Muti, I like him as a backup guard. Could maybe start down the road. Right tackle is a little bit of a red flag as we sit right now between Bobby Massey, Cam Fleming, since Juwan James, unfortunately, just never panned out and or was healthy in Denver. But it's that pivot position at center between Cushenbery and Meinerz. I think Cushenbery wins that job, but I would still watch closely how he plays this upcoming season. If it's bad, the Broncos will not hesitate to turn the reins over to Meinerz, who I love that pick by Denver in this past year's NFL draft.